So Bill swung by our camp that afternoon and delivered us some extra firewood. And then we hopped into his rig and headed up to check on some campers that were up about a mile from us. So Bill here drove up here just to chauffeur us around.
And
Thanks,
bring
Bill.
you wood.
And bring us wood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is Will and Bill.
Nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
Will, and Clay.
Hey, boy.
They both have YouTube channels. I don't know if you've ever seen them. But
Oh yeah? Sweet. I haven't been on YouTube a whole lot recently.
You know. So you said you might have some weird activity or something?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we got a couple things. My friend over there said, well, he heard a lot more. I was drinking, so I kind of slept through a lot. But, I mean, it was windy last night,
Yeah.
but there's lots of rustling outside. My dog's barking, growling.
Rustling like how
Like,
so?
Sticks, branches breaking off of the distance like somebody's walking on, but you don't hear nothing. That's what my woman said. And it just looks like disturbed vegetation back there.
Oh, okay.
Like the grounds might be messed up.
Well, it could be anything. We got a lot of bear and stuff up
Oh,
here.
I'm
in
sure
the
there's
spring.
deers walking up on the
Deer,
campsite
yeah.
too, yeah. I swear there was a deer right in front of my door. I think that's the chair now. I was just paranoid. The chair's right there. But I'm sure Saul will. I'm talking about. So, we got experts.
Experts.
yeah, sorry, I hate to bother you guys again, but
Still talking.
they wanted to talk to you. We're also thinking about if we should move campsites up this way or not. So they wanted to kind of talk to you before.
Hi, I'm Bill.
I'm a lot more up here.
Will.
Yeah.
No other people around.
So,
Yeah, we'll probably be out of here by like 2.
are you?
Yeah, we're getting out of here.
So you didn't really just a few noises and stuff last night?
Just a few
or
noises. I heard growling.
Growling?
First night.
Okay, growling.
And then something touching my tent and smelling. So I thought it was a bear. Where could be a deer.
No,
I don't think
just-
so.
How high on your tent was it?
It was like this high. Probably. Yeah.
Probably about head level.
Yeah. Head level. It was right behind my head actually. And they heard other noises. I don't know what kind of noises.
What kind of when it was smelling? Was it a or was it a?
It was like
Okay.
yeah.
Just kind of a quick
Yeah.
sniffing.
Kind of yeah.
Now, did you guys hear any kind of like metallic sound?
Metallic sound.
Like a piece of metal banging or anything like that?
Not actually. No, not metallic sounds.
Not that I can recall.
Yeah.
Any whistling? Or
Whistling.
I've been hearing whistling.
No whistling?
I thought it was a bird. I've been hearing lots of whistling up here. And I just keep putting it on the bird.
what?
Yeah, I know people like to try to call my dog too, but there's nobody up
was
here.
it like? Was it like? Or
It's like a long whistle.
okay, so it
Time
was like,
frame.
Probably like 5 to 10 seconds. It's a long whistle. That's why I just assumed it was some bird.
It
also
could be a
sounds pretty
thrush.
far out there. A thrush.
It
Is that
could be a
bird?
thrush.
Whistling bird.
How about
They do a long single.
any owls? Did you hear any owls last night? No, you know
Not much,
owls
no.
will.
No, I've been
Nothing
hearing a
like
whole
that.
lot of any wildlife actually up here.
You know how crows?
I haven't been hearing a lot of
No, I mentioned tree dogs, and you guys have never heard of that before, or even know.
that. Yeah. Like somebody like knocking on a
Yeah.
tree.
Like a baseball bat, like a
They did actually when
Did
we
they?
were fishing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right behind them.
Yeah, that's when stuff got weird when we actually went fishing for a couple hours.
Yeah.
They were hearing tree falling. I have a long range walkie, so I took it with me. It got real bad signal down there, but I could hear like some words patched through.
Yeah.
Are you guys out of
They heard-
Spokane?
Yep.
Cool.
But you said you went fishing, and that's when stuff got weird.
Yeah. So we went fishing, just me and him, and then they started hearing stuff like something hitting a tree or a tree falling. I don't know. It was just wood.
And that was before it was all windy.
Yeah. That was before it was all windy.
when the girls were here by themselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
I did leave the dog up here too.
So you say your dog last night was going a little wild, or Just
She's been
general
doing
growls.
that the past 2 nights. Yeah, she just every once in a while she just growl. She'll talk. She'll like a
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she'll just be growling at things out in the distance. I just tell her to shush up. It scares me more than anything. Other than that, she's a pretty good alarm clock. She lets us know if anything's nearby.
Yeah.
She'll
Cool.
just start barking off in the distance. By the time I get out there, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So any strange smells?
Strange.
Like
I-
a skunk, but worse.
I felt some. Yeah. Actually, I felt we got a campfire. It smelled a little bit like the campfire at night, but it was like already turned off. And I don't know what other smells. Probably like animal smell. And that's it. Pretty much those two were the strongest ones.
My nose has been fucking runny.
Hola.
He's already been up here. Leave him alone.
In case you ever want to see who we are and stuff.
Sounds good. Yeah, I got one card in my pocket.
Yeah.
Definitely checking it out when we get service.
Yeah.
And they said those holes were dug while they were here
Oh yeah.
the first night?
They weren't there.
They weren't there.
I know that because we set up our tent there it took us a minute. There was ice on the ground, but it was only right up here, leading up to the campsite, and it was all gone by the second day.
But those holes right there?
Those holes are there, yeah. We'd build our campsite. We never tripped over anything. We never noticed nothing. I probably wouldn't have camped
Mind if
right
I
there.
walk over there and look?
Go ahead.
Throw some dirt on. I would have done something different.
Yeah, it looks like something.
All of a sudden, we started tripping on these holes.
Hello, I hope we're not
I
ruining
tripped
your
on them.
camp out.
This one yesterday.
Maybe Bigfoot's more of a guy thing, I don't know.
This one looks a lot more.
Well, that gave me crazy dreams. Just that wind. I dreamt that it was horrible.
Community, but you couldn't leave.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I had horrible dreams, but
That's
that
interesting.
lava one was the worst. I couldn't
Yeah.
sleep very well
Oops.
after that.
Oops.
Yeah, that would suck.
About
Somebody up here was having fun before we got up here.
Yeah, those are pretty big
I
casings.
don't know why they
Okay.
shot right into it.
How high in your tent?
Well,
This is where my head was. So probably around here.
Hey, Bill.
Yes, sir.
You can see what could be like claws.
claws.
Yeah. Possibly.
I think it's animal dug.
Yeah.
Nothing too thrilling.
Thank you, sir.
Well, appreciate you guys talking with us. No
Yes,
worries.
thank you.
Yeah, cool. Well, guess we'll leave you to it. If you think of anything else, again, you know where I'm at. Have a good time. Thanks for letting us interrupt you twice now.
No worries. Yeah.
You're all good.
See you.
You can turn around.
Sure, yeah.
Now, the height of where his tent was being pressed, I'd say it was most likely a four-legged animal.
Yeah.
If he heard the smell like above his tent, then
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Those definitely look like slight claw marks of something not too big, maybe a small bear, black
Yeah.
bear. But for the girls, they hear knocking after the guys left.
Yeah.
Now I find that interesting.
Yep. Yeah, women left alone,
Yep.
and the boys are fishing, which typically they find annoying, I think. Is that, and Marshall got this, is that a different time he camped at the same campsite, that there was a ring of rocks that appeared the next morning. Again, maybe they just didn't see it,
Right.
but it was right next to their tent, so they felt like they would have noticed it as they were setting up their tent.
So a ring of rocks, would that like a fire ring
Just
or
on the ground, like a small ring of rocks.
small?
How big were the rocks?
He didn't ask.
I mean, bring the rocks.
He said
Could have been
like
something.
a fire ring, something like that.
Well,
I didn't.
that's just another thing is that people don't
Right, it could have
people
been.
don't always pay attention to stuff until they get there and then they start looking around. seeing stuff more.
So when we were back here, or when we first came up here in 2020 to do some camping, we all ventured off. You hung out here in camp, and you thought you heard some voices.
Yeah.
Could you describe that?
Yeah, I was at camp by myself, and I had some time to explore, and I started hearing, while I was at camp, I started hearing from the creek, just upstream from me, and there was a little bit of right across the road. We were like right on the road, opposite of the creek, and then there was some woods for maybe 50 yards to get to the creek. And I started hearing voices in that direction, and it sounded like people talking, laughing, talking, carrying on the conversation. And so I took my camera and I went over and slowly worked my way through the woods, and I could hear the voices all the way as I was headed towards the creek. And once I got really close to the creek, well, I would say probably 30, 35 feet from the creek, I could still hear the voices, and I'm looking, you know, down at the creek, and then I noticed the voices sounded like they were coming from the trees or the hills, the hillside on the other side, up in the trees. So I stepped out into a clearing and then went the rest of the way to the edge of the creek. And as soon as I stepped out in the clearing, I stopped hearing the voices. And I got, you know, close to the creek, and I'm listening, and I'm not hearing anything anymore. And I thought, well, you know, I've heard sounds from creeks before, you know, the sound of the water, the rapids and stuff, sometimes sounds like music or somebody talking. So I thought, well, I just got close enough to the creek that I can't hear the voices anymore, and so it makes sense to me that if I go back, get away from the creek, I can turn around and I can hear the voices again, right? So I go back past where I went, you know, before I stepped into the clearing, and I turned around and I listened, and I couldn't hear the voices anymore. So I went further back towards camp and turned around and listened, and there were no more voices. And so it was really kind of bizarre, because if it was the creek making the sound, then you would think by getting further away where you heard the voices before, you would hear the voices again, right? But it didn't happen again. And I went all the way back to camp and didn't hear the voices anymore, you know. So I mentioned it to one of the guys, and I guess it was some old legend or folklore that he heard, and he was saying that that's a Sasquatch, and they draw you into the woods, you know, so you can get lost, so they can eat you, or I don't know what. But it was really interesting, because, you know, earlier today I was hearing a lady talking, and it sounded like a man responding, and then mostly off in the very distance, it sounded like somebody in the woods there having a conversation. And so I told Will about it, and Will walked out there, and for the first few seconds he said he heard them. And then we went and hiked back in there. Well, you went down to the campsite, thinking maybe it was the campers,
Right.
and the campers are gone, they're not there. And then you and I hiked back in there. We didn't hear the voices anymore, but we checked the whole area out, all the way up the creek to that campsite, and there was nothing. kind of bizarre.
Now, you did bring up the fact that when we were up here last time, we had those campers come by and tell us about the whistles they were hearing. And we went up and investigated the area, found some interesting impressions and tracks up there. And now we're hearing voices again. And we just talked to some campers about a mile up the road, and they said they were having experiences
Yeah.
and hearing some knocks and stuff like that and some growls. And he pointed out the fact that those experiences are all happening on the creek.
Right. So all of those campsites are right along the creek, and so I wanted to camp away from the creek, the opposite side of the road, and that was because we do recordings at night, put out the audio recorder, and if you're right next to the creek, you can't hear anything but the creek.
Right.
But when you're this far away from the creek, you can hear other sounds around. You can also hear the creek a little bit, but you can hear all this other stuff. But my question is it worth it to get the audio when it seems like they travel the creek, the edge of the creek? So if we're going to have any kind of experience or sighting or anything, we probably ought to be close to the creek.
It's kind of like the Legend of Boggy Creek.
Is it?
They always travel the creeks.
Yeah. I have still yet to see that.
Oh, you should.
Yeah.
You should. It's a classic. Which way are you hearing it? That way, huh?
I think so. Yeah, that way. You know how a dog makes a sound and it echoes through the valley?
Yeah.
And it just kind of stretches the sound out. I mean, it could be something on the other side of that hill over there, for all I know.
So everybody watching this, leave a comment. Let me know if you guys have ever experienced anything strange on Sullivan Creek Road, and whether or not you guys were camping next to the stream or across the road. I'm kind of curious.
Voice was talking to for a few seconds and then it stopped. So we're going to walk that way towards the creek and then head towards the other campsite. He's already checked out the other campsite, and the people that were camping there last night are already gone, so I don't think anybody's there. So we're going to hike in now.
So let's just say that we were hearing voices and it was across the creek. How could we hear someone talking over all this and then the distance to our camp. Because I feel like I have to talk louder because I'm next to the creek. But if I'm talking louder and something else was talking, he would have to talk louder too, right? I don't know. So it's 5:30 p.m. Sun's beginning to set, so it's time to get these recorders out and start recording stuff. I am placing this audio recorder with these external microphones just outside of Aaron's camp. Now this is the general direction that he is hearing knocks and this strange metallic metal odd sound. He's heard it for 2 nights in a row. He heard it last night, so he has an audio recorder up on this hilltop, plus he's running audio in his camp. So I decided to come quite a ways out of his camp to set up this audio recorder because this is the direction that all the audio is coming from. So see what we capture tonight, if anything. Sullivan Creek. Now right there is Aaron's campsite. So I'm quite a ways away from it, so I won't get any of the noises he's making. But hopefully whatever's making the sounds in that direction will do it again tonight. Well, you can't really see much right now, but we are at this edge of the creek, watching the hillside. We have thermal running. It's watching the crest of the hill. What else? Here with Marshall, Aaron. I just flashed them all with my red light so they're blind. Now we're just going to sit here and make some noise and keep an eye out. So we're running audio as well. Got the thermal set up back out there. The guys are sitting here.
I see a black spot. Looks like it's on the top of the tree moving way over there. You can see it.
So we spent about 3 hours hanging out around the creek, and we were using the thermal all night long. We didn't see any wildlife, no birds, no mice, no nothing. I mean, it was just completely dead. But each one of us at different times heard a knock coming from across the road up on the hillside. So after being there for a few hours, it was getting cold and it was getting late at night, so we decided to head back to camp, and hoping that whatever was doing the knocks would follow us back to camp and we would get activity there where we had multiple recorders set up and everything. So we ended up heading back to camp.